Hey, I'm Chris Ralph, the professional prospector, and today I'm out doing a little bit of late fall dry washing. Now, normally we've got enough rain by this time of year that dry washing is kind of out of the question. We had a big storm at the end of October, but pretty much the entire month of November there was hardly any rain at all. So it's been drying out for most of a month, and the ground is dry enough to be doing a little bit of dry washing. Now today's video, I'm going to take you all the way from the very first, from why I'm digging here and the ground that I'm digging, through dry washing it, all the way to making a gold button. And at the end I'll show you, we're going to end up with a button of gold. I expect that the gold will be somewhere around 1/4 of an ounce, give or take, maybe a little less. If there's a little bit of noise, I'm apologizing to you. I'm kind of on the top of a hill, and although it's not really windy in the area, on top of a hill tends to be a little more breezy than other places. But we're going to go through the whole process. Like I say, I expect to end up with a button of close to about 1/4 of an ounce, more or less about that size, but you'll see it. We'll weigh it up at the end. Now, I told you that it had rained quite a bit at the end of October, and now it's been drying out for weeks. One of the things that's important about dry washing, the ground's got to be dry. Well, that's kind of it. Now, if you can take dirt and make a dirt clod out of it, then it's too wet. So let me show you. So here's some dirt I got, and I'm just going to open my hand, and you can see it kind of just falls apart. If I were to do that and open my hand and I'd have a big dirt clod, that's too wet for dry washing. You got to have loose material. Dirt clods are kind of the enemy of dry washing, because a dirt clod can enclose nuggets and flakes and dust rather easily. And if there's a dirt clod and it's got a little flake of gold in it, that dirt clod's going to go right through your dry washer and come out to the tailings at the end. And so you need to be careful, and you need to have dry material, because you want the material to be broken up into the sand or whatever that it's made out of, so it can go through the dry washer, and the heavy stuff like gold can be can go through and get caught in the riffles. That's what you need with dry washing. Now with dry washing, you can recover gold that's actually smaller than what you can see with a metal detector. But I'm going to show you in a bit that when I'm all done, one of the things I'm going to do is use my metal detector and go over the area that I worked, the tailings, the coarse tailings from the front of the dry washer, and the fine tailings out the back of the dry washer. That's important to do too. Now at this particular place, I have dry washed here a little bit before, and the biggest gold that comes from this is big enough for the metal detector to see a gold monster. So there's a chance that we'll see a nugget or something, a little flake, a picker kind of thing. But this is not a coarse gold spot. This is a spot where there's a little vein. I actually did a video earlier this summer in the spring with a friend of mine about this little spot. He found a pocket here. He's taken out some real nice gold, and I'm going to show you a picture of the workings, and that way you can see what we're talking about. But this is basically a residual placer. There's a vein, and I'm working just downhill, just down slope from where the vein was. And so all the vein that's eroded and broken off, then that's the material that's going to be in the soil that I'm going to be recovering with my dry washer. Okay, so one of the things about running a dry washer is to not just run it and never clean it out. So kind of knocking stuff through it, letting it run and clean itself out, and then I'm going to open it up. I'll show you how to do that. Okay, once you get the hopper emptied out, I usually like to kind of empty the last little bit of the hopper. I let it run through for a little bit. Okay, after I've let it run for a little bit, now I'm going to turn it off. Cleaning out this Keen dry washer is really easy. Basically, there's a little wing nut at the back. You just unscrew that. That loosens up the riffle tray. There's a lot of threads to it. Don't lose this. It makes everything a mess if you can't find it. Okay, I'm going to pull out the riffle tray. I have a bucket for it. I have a bucket for my riffle tray. Riffle tray is clean. Now I just replace it, put that wing nut back, set it up, we're ready to roll again. All I gotta do is put the wing nut back in and we're ready to roll. But that'll be easier done without gloves on.
I also wanted to show you a picture of the area where I was working. You can see on the right hand side there's kind of a cut through there. There's the little rich vein that basically is an area where the little vein with the high grade gold was mined out. The actual maximum depth of this hole is around 6 feet, although you really can't see that because of the shadows. To the left though of the cut is the bedrock exposed that I cleaned off to get the material that I dry washed, and then further left there's some rocks and boulders and stuff that were moved out of the way as we were cleaning this off, also digging out the vein as well. And this is what I worked, and you can see I cleaned off the bedrock real good because I wanted to make sure that I got all the dirt that was out of there. It wasn't very deep. The dirt really here was only about 2 to 4 inches deep, and maybe in the deepest spots 6 or 8 inches. But that's what it looked like.
Well, my day of dry washing is long spent, and I've actually packed the dry washer up and cleaned it out and done all that I'm going to do for today. And we've got storms coming in the next week or so, and it's probably going to be too wet to do any dry washing out here until sometime next spring or early summer. But before I go, I've got my metal detector, and if you do any dry washing, you really have to commit to checking your coarse tailings. This is the coarse tailings here, and then the fine tailings. This is the material that actually went through the dry washer, and then over here the bedrock that that I cleaned off. You got to check all of them, because in the past when I metal detected these spots, I've found gold in all 3 of those spots: the bedrock, the coarse, the fine. You know, dry washers do good, but there's certain things that they're just not able to cope with, and dirt clods is the the principal one. But I'm going to check this. I won't make you watch me check it all, but I'm going to go over this and check it and make sure. Now, I've dry washed here before, and my friend has dug in his little stope there, and the coarsest of the gold is kind of just within the range of the gold monster, so that means the gold is pretty fine. And so, you know, I'll be careful and I'll listen, but I'm not likely to be missing any big nuggets. So I'm going to take care of this, and we'll see you back at the house. The next step is to take my concentrates that I got from today and to clean them all off and to get the gold out of them. I will do that, show you how I do it, and then show you how I do that, and dry it all out. And then the next step after that is to make a button. And we're going to go do all of those. So that's coming up next in this video. Okay, so I've mixed up the concentrates from the dry washing with a flux, which I use sodium carbonate and sodium borax, or sodium borate, and mix them up as a flux and mix them with the concentrates. The concentrates, you know, have iron oxides with them, so I'm trying to free the gold from the iron oxides. I'll mix them up, and you can see I've got the furnace on, and it takes time to heat up, and then I'll make a pour. So I'll bring you back when it's closer to the final temperature. Okay, so we're getting closer. And so I'm warming up the mold. I got a nice cone mold here made out of graphite, and I will give it a few minutes of heat over the furnace here, and holding it like this with the big pliers means that I can get this thing heated up so there won't be any moisture or anything, and plus it'll be closer to temperature for when the pour goes in it, and allow just a fraction of a second longer for the gold to remain molten before it collects down at the bottom and solidifies. So I won't bore you with watching me heat the mold up, but I'm doing that and getting it all warmed up for the pour. Okay, I'm sure we're up to temperature now, so I'm ready to pour. I'm turning off the furnace. We'll take the lid off. Take the spacer piece off and make our pour. All right, we'll set that back in. Put these pieces back on and let it cool. All right, you can't really see it very well, but in here there's a little red globule of slag and metal, and it's cooling off slowly. I'll be back in just a minute and show you what it looks like.
Just quickly, here's what the concentrates look like. I actually dry washed for a couple of days, and here is just what the concentrates look like. There's a lot of iron oxides in them. They needed to be cleaned, and that's why I had to pour a button out of them. So here's the final little gold button, and as you can see, it weighs 6.9 grams. Now I'd hoped for a quarter of an ounce, but that's 7.8 grams is a quarter of an ounce, so I'm about a gram shy of what I expected. But still, that's a pretty good result to go from dry washing to a button. Now, I want to say that there was quite a delay in this video getting it done. I actually did the dry washing in early December, and we've just had bad weather and snow and mud and everything else out on the side of the house where I do my filming for pouring a button. And so anyway, just now I'm finally getting that done, so sorry for the delay. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video on a full, dry wash concentrates all the way down to a button. And if you want to improve your prospecting skills so you can go out and find gold for yourself, well, I wrote a whole book about increasing your prospecting skills. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my book right now.
So let me tell you a little bit more about my book. It's called Fistful of Gold, and I wrote it because I want you to be able to go out and find for yourself fistful of gold. And you can see that it's an encyclopedia with all kinds of information, pictures, and that sort of thing. It's not in color, but color would have cost me a lot more to have printed, and so the book would have cost a lot more. It's for sale on Amazon, and you can pick it up. I'll put a link in the description below. I also serve as the editor for a prospecting magazine. It's ICMJ's Prospecting and Mining Journal. And honestly, you should check that out. We got stories and information, legal stuff, everything you know to increase your skills as a prospector. I write articles in this every month, and a lot of other very experienced prospectors contribute to the magazine as well. So check the magazine out. Also, I have a website, and the website is at NevadaOutbackGems.com. I'll put a link for it in the description below, but there's gobs of information there that you will find useful in your prospecting efforts. Finally, I want to say that I really appreciate your comments and thoughts, and even positive criticism. Don't come on there and just toss out insults, because I'll just delete your comments. But if you've got helpful things to say and questions to ask, do write and put those in the comments, because I answer my comments to people, and you'll hear from me in responding to you. So if you've enjoyed this video and you like what you see and you're interested in finding out more, well then sign up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so they'll let you know when I post new videos. And like it and share it if again you see stuff that you really are excited about. And I'll be coming out with lots more new videos, and so we'll see you again real soon.